Ejection seats have saved hundreds of lives over their existence. Ejection systems in combat aircraft are designed to provide a fast, safe and efficient way for the pilot to escape a mortally wounded aircraft. Prior to ejection seats, the only method of abandoning a downed aircraft was to bail out by unstrapping, climbing out of the pilot's seat and jumping with a parachute. This, of course, was very situational and depended greatly on whether or not the aircraft or the pilot was in the condition to allow for this. The first assisted bailout was recorded in 1910 using a bungee system. The first actual ejection using an ejection seat was completed in 1942 by the Germans during World War II. After the last 77 years, ejection systems have evolved and improved to keep pace with newer high-performance aircraft. Modern ejection seats have differences depending on the aircraft they are fitted to and the configuration, role and environment that they are used in, but they all work similarly. Ejection is initiated by the crew by pulling the ejection control handle located between their legs. This sets off a sequence starting with the canopy or roof structure being jettisoned or broken away to clear the path for the seat to exit, followed by the seat catapult giving the initial push up and out of the cockpit. Once the catapult reaches the end of its travel, a rocket motor fitted to the bottom of the seat continues to push the seat clear of the abandoned aircraft. If multiple seats are fitted to the aircraft, one seat initiating the ejection will trigger all seats to initiate. The sequence that they eject ensures that they do not fire in a way that could cause additional injury. At the moment of ejection initiation, an onboard locating beacon is automatically initiated to aid in search and rescue efforts and to find the downed crew. As the seat and pilot fall, once they get below a determined altitude by the onboard sequencer and pitot probes to be safe, a parachute normally located in the seat's head box and attached to the pilot by a harness is deployed to slow the pilot's descent. At this point, the seat now falls away, leaving the pilot suspended by the parachute alone. Everything up to this point, from the pilot pulling the ejection handle to being suspended under their parachute, happens between 1/2 and 3 seconds, depending on the altitude. The pilot's seat contains a survival kit and is attached to their harness by a lanyard. Once the seat falls away, the survival kit hangs below the pilot for their use once they're on the ground. Many different methods have been used to clear the path of the ejection seat and pilot during the ejection, through the canopy while closed. This can be achieved in a couple of ways. One way is by using flexible linear shaped charge, or FLSC, to pyrotechnically break the transparency away from the canopy frame before the seat passes through it in an ejection. This is normally used on aircraft that have canopies hinged in such a way that they cannot be jettisoned easily. Examples of this would be the Harrier with a canopy on a sliding track system, and the British Aerospace Hawk with their side hinged canopies. Another way to get the seat to go through the canopy is by the seat breaking it on its way through using canopy breakers. These canopy breakers are sharp protrusions mounted on the top of the seat that shatter the canopy transparency. These are always part of ejection seats and can act as a backup system if the canopy doesn't jettison through the structure of the aircraft. FLSC can be used to remove roof skin to allow the ejection seats mounted inside a cockpit to pass through. The function of the FLSC is the same, but instead of breaking perspex, cuts the aircraft skin away. This method is used in the B-1 and B-2 bombers. These frangible areas can be seen by the grey squares on the roof above the flight deck. Jettisoning the canopy. In most high-speed modern military aircraft, the canopy is jettisoned prior to the seats ejecting. This type of canopy is usually hinged at the rear and is flung up, aft and away by rocket motors that are initiated during the ejection sequence. All the pilot does to initiate this normally is to pull the ejection control handle. However, in an emergency, this can be initiated by a separate canopy jettison handle. An ejectable crew module. This is what you might term an escape pod. In this instance, the entire cockpit is severed away from the aircraft and ejected with the crew inside. This method was used on the F-111 and the early B-1A. A smaller version of the ejectable crew module is the escape capsules used on the B-58 Hustler. Although these systems were used, they proved to be too maintenance intensive and costly to be practical and have since been discontinued. The ejection systems in Star Citizen so far have been incorporated in most combat ships with the same intention as their real-life counterparts of getting the pilot away from their damaged craft quickly. There are some exceptions to this, with Drake combat ships in particular bizarrely being created without the inclusion of any kind of escape system. Currently, all capable ships have similar ejection systems, but there is no reason that they couldn't be more varied. For instance, the Gladius has what appears to be flexible linear shaped charge built into the canopy. Realistically, the way the Gladius's canopy is hinged at the rear, the canopy would be jettisoned, but could animate FLSC shattering canopy as part of ejection sequence instead. This could add a cool immersion effect and something different to an Aegis single-seat combat ship, including the Avenger as well. The Origin M50 and Misk Razor could have hinged canopies to ensure that the pilots racing at breakneck speed can get themselves out of a bad situation to race another day. Consolidated Outland Mustangs, being cheaper starter ships, would most likely use frangible canopy to cut down on cost and weight. The Aurora LN, being a combat ship, could use a simple system of frangible glass around the cockpit to allow the pilot to simply bail out instead of having an actual ejection seat, but still speed things up in an emergency. The Origin 300 series, being a luxury touring ship, could use the ejectable crew module to ensure those people with deep pockets could escape in the highest level of security. The Ejection crew module built into the Vanguard currently doesn't make much sense, considering it's a combat ship. With the current design, the pilot and turret gunner need to leave their station and move to the centre section of the ship to deploy the lifeboat section. All this takes time, which is at a premium in a life and death situation like combat. The Anvil combat ships, being ultra-military utilitarian, would most likely use the canopy jettison and seat method to ensure that brave pilots of the UAE Navy have the best safety systems that can be afforded them. The Gladiator pilot would need to use a frangible canopy method to ensure the seat can get past the frame. Turret operators could use frangible canopy and connected ejection systems that are connected to and initiated with the rest of the seats in the ship to ensure that no one is left behind in a burning wreck. As many ejections would be in a vacuum of space, the pilot could remain with their seat so it could provide emergency life support and rescue aids. When in atmosphere, it could be jettisoned like it is in real life, or it could contain descent systems. As many planets and moons in Star Citizen do not have or don't have thick enough atmosphere for a parachute to work, a rocket-assisted descent system could be built into the seat to slow pilots' descent to a safe level as they approach the surface. This could either deploy with the pilot suspended beneath it as the seat drops away like a real-life parachute system, or it could be built directly into the seat. Just like real life, ejection systems should have the survival equipment built in to help the crew stay alive. In space, this could include emergency oxygen to extend the oxygen available to a stranded pilot in space, emergency medical supplies, a locator beacon to allow for SAR teams to be able to find the stranded crew, and a high-powered strobe light on the seat that could be activated manually to attract attention. And on the ground, a survival kit with food and water, a pistol for self-defense, and an emergency shelter to provide a safe area that the pilot could eat and drink even in toxic or no atmosphere planets and moons. Because of the threat of permadeath, having a fast and effective escape system is a must for combat ships in Star Citizen, just as it is in real life. Having different ways to escape with logical built-in survival aids would add some more spice to the ships and make them even more believable. Good hunting, pilots.